Authority.
We're here today in our capacity as administrators for the City of Lebanon Land Bank. Last year, the Land Bank and County Commissioners entered into a cooperation agreement, and part of that cooperation agreement, as one of parts of that agreement, was that every year the Land Bank would present the properties that they are interested in acquiring to the Commissioners, and that you would have the ability to review those and then agree to any or all of the properties that we were proposing. I'll turn it over to Dan at that point.
2 weeks ago, we sent you a memo outlining this request. At that time, there were 3 properties that we were considering for possible acquisition at the judicial sale. The 847 Maple Street property, we no longer believe will be exposed to sale, so we're rescinding that property from our request and presenting the other 2 only. They are 1130 Buttonwood Street and 20 South 11th Street. We also sent to you just brief write-ups for each of those properties with a description of the property, some photographs, what our intended plan would be, and made reference to, as Betsy mentioned, the cooperation agreement the Land Bank has with the County Commissioners. So what we're looking for today is your decision on whether we can proceed with those acquisitions at the December 9th judicial sale and make use of the statutory powers of a land bank. We'd also like you to, for any property that you approve, if you do, to also approve an option agreement, basically formalizing that approval between the land bank and the county commissioners. The option agreement, it's actually laid out in our cooperation agreement that any property approved should be written up in an option agreement so that the land bank has something to present to the Tax Claim Bureau in advance of the sale that reflects the commissioner's official decision, essentially. And we have a draft option agreement that Treasurer Sally Newen is reviewing with the county's solicitor. So we're not asking you to sign it today, but we would like your approval of the option agreement.
I would ask, if I could, that you just briefly review the 2 properties now in question as far as when they were last inhabited and so on, so that for the sake of the folks here, because the land bank was something that I struggled with, and I think ask you to actually make some changes and have the county commissioners weigh in on these. So I would like, for the sake of
Certainly
the audience here, to know what the status is of these 2 properties.
Happy to do so. The 1130 Buttonwood Street property, this is just off North 12th Street, between 12th and what would be 11th. It is a semi-detached row home. It's vacant. It's in deteriorated condition, blighted. And both these properties, just by virtue of being exposed to judicial sale, are tax delinquent. They are delinquent on their 2017 and 2018 taxes. This property was last sold in 1976 and has been vacant for, I think, a few years now. It was a mother-daughter that was residing in the property, and they've moved out of state. One is in California, the other is in Las Vegas. There's no mortgage or judgment on the property, but there are outstanding public safety fines and City of Lebanon Authority water service bills outstanding. We visited these properties as part of our due diligence. It's significantly deteriorated. I mean, the roofs are bad. We believe there's a problem with cats living in the property.
There's a problem with cats.
Windows are open. The grass has not been cut. Things of that nature. You can peek inside. It looks terrible inside. I think it's important. I should mention that the Land Bank actually has received a grant from PHFA, from the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency, of the FAIR funds, which is the Pennsylvania Housing Affordability Rehabilitation Enhancement Fund. Sorry. So So the land bank has grant funds to acquire and rehabilitate these properties. That's what we're proposing to do. That block, just for kind of a larger context, that little block there on Buttonwood Street is kind of a 50-50 mix of renter-occupied and owner-occupied properties, some in better shape than others. There's a couple properties that are for sale right now on that block that are in decent shape. One of the properties directly next to this one has a giant hole in the roof.
It's been fixed.
It has now been fixed, thanks to the city's code enforcement efforts. But we think that this will have a good impact if the land bank's able to acquire this property and fix it up and put an owner-occupant in there. We think it'll go a long way towards stabilizing that block and kind of stemming the tide of blight there. With the 20 South 11th Street property, it is also vacant, abandoned, tax delinquent. It is also semi-detached row home. This one is a 3-story brick row home. Last sold in 2016. It's assessed at $88,000. We believe that the current owner is deceased and her sister, who's taking care of the property, lives out of state. There's also public safety and water authority fines owing on the property. This is a bit nicer of a neighborhood. When we visited the site, there was work going on I think 3 or 4 properties right there in that area, people taking care of their properties. You know, it's not in perhaps as bad a shape. It's a little bit larger, but again, you walk by, you can tell just by looking at it. It will need substantial rehab. The roof was tarped. The tarp has since disintegrated and it was blowing off the roof. Pieces of tarp in the alleyway. Garbage, trash bags full of things, you know, in the rear storage area, spilling out into the rear porch. Just another property that's severely blighted, in addition to being tax delinquent and in need of an investment. The land bank is in the position to make that investment, and that's what we would like to do.
Want a motion? I'll make a motion that the county, the commissioners approve moving forward with the purchase of those 2 properties.
I'll second the motion, but I do have a comment. I don't think it's a secret. I've not been in favor of the land bank. I really have not changed my mind because I feel it's an added level of bureaucracy, with all due respect. We have Habitat for Humanity, who is successfully renovating properties in the city, putting them back on the tax rolls, finding and also coaching new homeowners. And I think by the county taking on properties, the Redevelopment Authority, there's a couple of issues. One is the liability with those if there are hazardous materials, for instance, leaking underground oil tanks. That had never been addressed in my original questioning about doing an environmental assessment, and as well as the issue of perhaps eminent domain in a sense, because here you have a grieving sister who will lose a property that has some value and will never really get anything for it, and that saddens me. So those are the kinds of things that trouble me with this program, and so therefore I will be voting no, and I just wanted it to be upfront about that.
Anyone else have any comment? Not all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Vote passes 2-1.
Thank you.
And I would also mention that the tax delinquency resource guide that we prepared last year for distribution, the city and the Redevelopment Authority will again be sharing the costs to distribute that through the tax claim office as well as through public service agencies.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.